Hey everyone, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
It's Imani River from Haven Village in East Tennessee. Super excited for the year ahead. There's a lot going on in the world, but we've really been creating our own little safe haven here in East Tennessee. And we just wanted to do a little recap of this past year and share with you what's ahead in 2025.
Yeah, 2024, hey. What a year it's been, and we are feeling even more blessed to be here in East Tennessee on the land, surrounded by nature more than ever, and are so excited about what's to come in 2025.
So some of you have been following our first year on the land. We're a little bit past that, and we've been really busy building. We actually lead with the Haven Earth Trade School. We're an educational residential village. And so what that means is that we're using this educational model through the trade school to actually teach people how to build healthy hemp homes. And we spent the first year getting our initial infrastructure and getting on the land so that we could get to the point where we could start building our first healthy hemp home, which we did.
Yeah, that's been exciting. I just want to say how amazing this woman is. I was just listening to her and I was just getting lost in what she has to say and how she expresses it with so much excitement. It's definitely a big part of why the success of what we're doing. It takes a lot to orchestrate and pull all this together. The hemp homes are a big part of it, and hemp is a really big part. The trade school is a really big part. But it also takes a lot of drive and a lot of organization and a lot of mastery to be able to kind of orchestrate a lot of this. And Imani is definitely
Thank you.
Amazing human being. I feel very blessed to be sharing this journey with. And, I think this year is going to give us a lot of opportunities to really show who we are in the world and share our gifts and really get serious about what we're doing here
and attract like-minded others who are really feeling and resonance with what we're doing. And one of the things that we were just discussing that we wanted to share in this year is getting back online and communicating with everyone a little bit more, like how River and I started 4 years ago when we met. Everything was really virtual. We were doing a lot of in-person gatherings, and that was really relevant, but many of us were communicating in this virtual way. So we want to share more of an inside view of what we have going on here at Haven Village and have a monthly Q&A for others who are interested in creating similar models so that we can really give, like River was saying, an inside view and a really in-depth view of what it takes to actually develop this kind of model, from everything from the actual builds that we're doing to how we're bringing in residential members, how we are setting up really is important as a private model. And so there's a lot of questions and a lot of interest. So that's our goal this year, is to start sharing more. We're committing to doing at least one live a month Q&A.
More if we get time.
Yeah. We'll do it on Zoom and we'll do a Q&A so people can ask questions and we can answer. Kind of like when we were back in the day when we did our Brave New Life conversations.
I've definitely been inspired of recent, talking to more and more people about, getting back to land, residential, what people's aspirations are, what they think they want, what they think they need, not to underplay any of that, but also to really like bring up the bigger discussion around, kind of what it means to dwell and what can we create in our lives through the structures that we create and the thought that we put into them, and kind of reimagining the way we live, because the architecture that we live in, just as the nature, really can affect us in ways, and we can really contribute to that affecting us in a positive way, and so we can start really mapping that out and I feel, and it's something that's coming up to me was we lost mastery over marketing, and maybe that's nothing new in a lot of ways, but it just really struck a chord with me that the art of mastery of mastering an art and
Or
create a
trade.
trade. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's all an art. Actually, a trade is an art. We pigeonholed it into a trade in some ways, but in a way, it was all the arts. In a way, it's all a form of creation, and I think getting back to that, where we discuss that and we look into, and it's almost like therapy in a way, where we get to unpack the experiences in our lives where we felt safe, where we felt held, and how that relates to the architecture and the space, and how we can re-enable that healing within ourselves, to find space is a new pathway to understanding ourselves, in terms of how we can create sacred space, how we can create spaces for that inner reflection, for that inner sanctum. And I think we lose that in so many ways when we get lost in Pinterest and all these other things and fantasies, especially now with the AI and the CGI stuff. What is reality anymore? And none of these designs of houses that look real actually are based on the principles of nature, gravity, or anything, or your budget. So just bringing back a reality.
River, we're gonna be answering some of the design questions in these monthly Q&As as well, and maybe you want to talk about this first residential hemp. So some of you guys know we've built, our glamping cabins where we'll be hosting guests again in the spring season, and then we built 7 residential yurts. We do have some open app for people to apply for residential memberships in the yurts. We are excited to be launching our family. Yes, we live in one of the yurts. Our family neighborhood in 2025, and with Alana and Joseph doing the farm and forest school. So we will be having families on the land in the spring, which is super exciting for us, because again, an expansion of the educational piece that we are really passionate about. And then we did an addition on our community space, which is our commercial kitchen, added a bathhouse for our guests. Oh my God. And then we
the cats are going crazy.
Yes, we have 2 little kittens that are running around behind us. We did our maker space. How big is that space?
Well, we have 2 buildings in total of about 4,000 square foot for a workshop space, for creative spaces, as opposed to storing materials, also all good stuff.
Classroom space.
Yeah.
And then
R&D space.
Yep. Maybe you can talk about the R&D that we're doing this winter, because really River is focused on design these next couple months while it's a little bit colder. We will be leaving tomorrow for warmer weather. Well, tomorrow's River's birthday, but we'll be leaving on Tuesday for warmer weather to visit one of our residential members in Puerto Rico, but really focus on the design and the custom designs for some of our residential members, as well as the Pioneer Way. And if you haven't seen our video, we haven't really talked about it since we've been on, but we did a promo video, kind of a virtual tour, and I'll put a link here. So if you haven't seen that, I'll put it in the comments. But maybe you can talk a little bit about what you're R&Ding and visioning into practical design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, as everybody's probably aware, like the whole boxable homes and all these different kinds of homes, container homes, it's kind of like, drop it off at the site and you've got a house to live in. The idea of it is great, and it solves a lot of issues in different ways to do with timing, kind of nailing down costs, which can just get out of control in construction, all kinds of things. But the general theme of that are not any better than regular homes, and often actually worse, in terms of materials and actually air quality and the quality of the environment. So necessarily the design too. So what are we sacrificing in terms of finding access to be able to get our homes built on the land and kind of put up. So really we want to take the hemp, and it's not a new concept, it's being done already in Europe in different ways and in other countries, to modularize the hemp building, so you kind of, make the modular system out of a healthy home system. And so you really tackle one of them first main issues of a modular system by, producing a healthy version of it. And then obviously, how that goes together, the cost implications and all of these things, R&Ding panels and such, and different systems and ways of installing, drying, curing, finishing. So there's a lot to kind of unpack with that. And that's why we've got this maker space now, and we just got power on there. So we're hooked up and we're ready to start R&D and some stuff. And we're going to be working on doing the tiny home in a modular format to see how that would work out.
As well as a hemp bedroom addition onto the yurts. We'll test out ours
that
first.
Keeps sneaking in there.
Very excited about that.
Because I think that's a big stumbling block for a lot of people. They have their main asset in a house, and that's their investment basically. And oftentimes what we're forced to do is just jump into another house, which isn't necessarily the house we want. But we've got to take that money from the sale of a house and put it into something else so we can move, take all our stuff and put it in somewhere. Because the idea of renting for months, potentially years, till you find something that's perfect that you want, is not what a lot of people are willing to do. And so, I feel like this is a way to basically create it so that space between selling your home and being able to move into a new home that you actually want to live in a location like Haven Village, where you'd love to live, if that jives with you, or,
And that's one of the biggest challenges facing many people that want to be here, really. So that's why we're getting creative around it. Is, a lot of people, we've talked about this too, who have kind of done the lone homesteading and are looking to be more in partnership with others, returning back to the land, because that model really isn't often workable long term. So, yeah. So back to your what are you calling this hemp home?
Oh yeah, to working on the hemp starter home. So it's the idea, of a modest size structure, that would, be an affordable. It's a really delicate word to use in construction. That means a lot of things to a lot of different people, obviously. So, something that would be a starter home that would be big enough to live in and to add on to. But then that gives us a way to kind of be able to produce a number of them. You look at exactly what's happening in North Carolina right now, and people are trying to winterize these RV structures and more temporary structures that they've been forced to live in, basically, for whatever reason. We don't need to go there, but if we had something like this where we could get them a healthy home that's totally, super insulated, healthy, weathers a storm, has fire resist. So many beautiful characteristics of the material, put into a package that could be produced and shipped somewhere, and we're like within hours, a few hours away from that area. Like if we were in a position like we wish we were actually, but we're not, and we're not in that place right now. But that's definitely a part of the impetus for us actually doing this, is not just about what we're building here, but creating something and creating pathways and more focus on healthy natural versions of this. And we have some friends also who are doing similar things. Our friends at GeoShip, they're doing the natural geodesic structures.
We're just waiting for them to be available.
They're gonna get there, but it takes time. And this is the thing, you can get out there fast. You can, there's a lot of this. Is what I was saying. The marketing has taken over the mastery, and I think the people who are really working for the mastery side of it are suffering to others who are just pushing ahead with the marketing and selling stuff to people that's not actually fit for purpose. And if it is, it's not what they say it is. And I think there's the lack of integrity in that is really challenging for me personally. It's hard to express that in a way, in any meaningful way anyway. But I think, the only way you can actually make your point is actually produce something of quality that does meet the needs, and people would feel is really of value. So it's a big goal. I feel definitely like I have experience in the architecture and construction world for pretty much all my life, since I was out of high school, in one form or the other. And Imani was saying, like, you really need to share this with people.
Well, I think it's important because there's so many people looking to get back to the land or looking at these kinds of models, but it's how you dwell and in the spaces that you're dwelling in. And that's, is the obstacle, especially if you're looking to go back to land without, a lot of people are looking for raw land or without infrastructure. We chose a property with existing infrastructure, but even that, we're still building a lot, and we're
not a lot of
slated
dwellings
to build 30 plus healthy hemp homes here. So it's a big part of our model is considerations around how we dwell and what spaces we're dwelling in, as well as the food security measures. And that's really going to be, now that we've dialed in and we've got the initial infrastructure and we're building our healthy hemp homes, we can even focus more on the food security measures that we're doing. And we did quite a bit. We put a lot of infrastructure in place, but our goal this year, like, we actually have quite a bit of animals. We talk so much about healthy hemp homes. Unless you're following us on Instagram, you don't see all the animal photos that I tend to post that River teasing me about, because have chickens. We've been producing our own eggs. We raised and processed over 100 chickens. We have ducks. We have goats. The goats had babies. The goats are all pregnant. They'll be having a lot more babies. And when Alana and Joseph and some of the other members move here, we'll be milking goats, making cheese. We're getting dairy cows. So we'll be full on in dairy mode in the spring. Yay. With cow's milk, goat milk, cheese making, butter and cream that I love, and yogurt, all of that. I mean, we have a raw milk herd share right now, but we'll be producing it on the land. So our goal is to get our CSA going alongside with the Farm and Forest School. We'll be having Azure. Some of you know that delivery drop off here. We've harvested our own ducks, our own rabbits. First time for that. We have raised pigs and we process both of those. And working with Farmer Blake, neighbor, who's also really excited to be part of the faculty here at the Farm and Forest School. And in the new year, our big goal with the animal husbandry piece is to actually harvest our own animal feed. So that means haying all our fields and making pellets so that we are truly resilient. So that's year 2 objectives, as well as planting more trees and orchards and the blueberry bushes and additions. But that's kind of the ongoing behind the scenes. The building really is takes the lead, because there's so much involved in that when you're looking at reshaping the land and the pond that we put in and just the structures that people need to be on the land. I mean, even our guests, the bathhouse and having compost toilets, everything, replacing the barn stairs, everything requires thinking and a design. It's not haphazard for us. River's way of working with the land specific to design and bringing Alana in, who will be doing a lot of the permaculture piece in the family neighborhood and beyond, is really about in relationship with the land, and like he's talking about with design, working with nature, so that these spaces are realistic and practical and functional and beautiful. Because beauty is a really big part of what we do here. But the function, I think a lot of people, especially when they're seeing a lot of these AI images that are coming out that are not real, to be clear, and not functional, right? Maybe what were you guys were talking, you and a lot, like, it's beautiful, but you were saying something this morning. I thought, yeah,
it's
really
evocative.
Relevant.
It's definitely evocative. It's kind of like, lack of a better word, it's architecture porn, basically.
I never heard you
it's
say that.
AI generated, because it's not reality. It's some fantasy that takes us out of our center.
Who's been sucked into that?
The swirly, swishy, the curvy glass, the this, that,
the glass roofs,
all of it. Like, just like what is it that we're trying to run away from? in a way, like we're like so aspiring for something so otherworldly in a way that I feel like that's kind of part of the illusion and the allure of it, is that it pulls us away from actually dealing with our shit. And the shit is the earth, right? The shit is the ground, and that's actually what
literally we have vermicomposting toilets in our yurt, so we're dealing with our shit.
But mammals bury. They dig in the ground. They create spaces. Soil. They create space in the ground, like they want to be. They want to be part of the earth. The earth is the sanctuary, right? And you know, it feels like there's a connection through our spaces and through the architecture that we create to nature, but not in necessarily the way we think so. Not like our building needs to look like a daffodil or something, you know, because that's how it's getting, right? It's getting so obscure that we just look at it like we look at it as just like, oh, it's like a piece of nature. But what is it? What are them inner sanctums within us? Which that is the expression of our home. It's the inner sanctum. And it's more attuned and akin to like the portal or the cavern or these spaces which feel secure and we can go within. Whereas I feel like modern architecture is all about like connecting with the outside through the glass, and I love that, and I'm also fall for that too in some ways, and I think that has its part. But there's also another part to it, which is about like the feeling the form and feeling nature's forces. The forces that are applied onto nature, and what supports that, like what are the elements that support that force. And through architecture we can talk about these things in that way too, like what elements support and what visually and expressed through architecture can make us feel supported. So you know, and then in tune with like ritual and the sacred in our spaces, and like reimagining our spaces based on who we are, what we express, and what we want to achieve, what we want to aspire to. We start to look at architecture differently. We start to look at it in terms of a series of moments rather than a series of, you know, prescriptions and fantasy. So that's really kind of where I feel like pulling back the veil on a lot of this like kind of AI generated stuff and the stuff that's kind of going in the other direction to being grounded into the inner part, which architecture I think speaks to for the human culture, the humankind, unless we're nomadic, right? Nomadic is totally different, and that's a different culture, and we're not them people anymore. I lived in Kazakhstan, worked in Kazakhstan, they were the nomadic people, you know, the horse people. And actually it was like the Tsar of Russia actually had to build a city in Kazakhstan to actually make the people stop. And it was just interesting, like the architecture came through that, right? Being nomadic, the circular structures and all of that, it made sense. But we're not nomadic in a way. We actually want to be grounded and we want to find place. But if we put nomadic type of structures on there, what does it say? What do we feel in this energy of the circle that never ends? It's just
great dancing spaces.
It's just continually going and going and going. It doesn't have a place to rest. What do them types of structures feel like on a more permanent basis?
So those would be great shared community spaces.
Yeah, and they're great for the yurts because don't say the yurts are not like a legacy home, right? That you're gonna live in for 50 years and pass down to your children. They're shorter period, maybe 10 years maximum. But you know, we see them as like a transition. Like we live in the yurt now until we're gonna build our house. And the nice thing about it is that we're in this state of flow and movement right now in our lives, and the yurt really is fine with us in that way. But I think when we get to build our house at some point, we'll ground a lot of that in place here.
Well, there's definitely a lot of movement going on here, and it works well because we're in a constant flow in this really intense initial phase of manifesting this vision into physical form. So I think for us, and we also have this structure that we're in, which is our office, where our headquarters, which is one of the existing cabins that was in the property. So that's where we do our work, which is a 4-sided structure. We just kind of use the yurt as our personal space, but we will be adding the hemp bedroom. We just added our wood stove, and those are off.
Awesome,
and it's a great entry point for people who want to come into Haven village
For
to
sure.
move through it. And those that have skills to contribute, we're really looking for those contractors and homesteaders and people like that really want to get a foot into what we're doing. Because the thing about Haven Village, and I just kind of want to put this out there, because if you're interested in learning more about our model, you can fill out our application. I'll put that up here. But for those people that are interested in learning more, I've put together a little PDF with a lot more information. But what I was going to say is that this model is really intimate. And what I mean by that is that we are not creating even a development. Like, we're project managers and we're building a development. Maybe you can speak to a little bit about the difference of it. Obviously, we're within the private realm and we're focused on education and economics. Those are some of our distinguishing factors. But it's the intimacy of only having 30 or 40 residents, only developing 20% of the land, that even a lot of these things that we've been seeing, like, getting homesteader neighborhoods or properties where literally there's hundreds of people kind of just, what do you call that? Like, just kind of putting up,
parceling off the land
and breaking the land up. That's not how we're doing it here. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how we're doing the lots, because we have right now 3 different neighborhoods: the family neighborhood, the Pioneer Way, which is the home that is showcased in the video that I put the link to. And then we have our custom neighborhood, which is larger lots, more spaced out. But those encompass, 8 to 12 homes in a 10-acre area. So I'm going to put that link up while you explain that a little bit more, River.
Okay. You have a little cat popped up to say hi. Well, it's it's evolved over the year, actually. I did a master plan when we first came to land, even before we kind of sealed the deal. After coming here a few times and doing the Vastu overlay to see where energetically things were flowing. But I think we've honed that in. It hasn't changed in fundamentally in the sense of the strategy. We're still doing around 20% to 80% kind of what you would say development, building structures and lots and things like that, to keep the majority of the land as natural as possible. Because that is definitely one of the main assets about this property, is the versatility, the what's the word, when there's a lot of different things, the variation. There's a lot of variation in the property, from pastures to forested to really hilly areas to to valleys and streams and ponds and all kinds of things in connection to the national forest. It's got a lot, and it's not like just a flat 100 acres or something, which we were looking at in Texas, and really had to like imagine into that, almost like a blank canvas. But in the same way, you had to do so much to bring it to life. Here, you want to do less so you don't take away from it. And so it's been kind of a tweaking process and spending time on land, meditating on the land,
which is really important to do the first year on the land,
seeing really where the flows, the waters go, rerouting waterways, in the sense of like drain areas and stuff like that from hilly areas. So there's been a lot of that, and kind of creating these neighborhood areas that become a little bit more autonomous, I would say, in their ability to have their own gardens and have their own little growing areas and added touches, because with it's not like some like service community or golf course community where you have like this center and then everybody else is just just getting serviced by the golf club. This kind of everybody wants to be doing their part, and I think that's really
very hands-on and participatory, for sure.
And just it's a creative project, and I think people are excited about that. Like, they get to express and create something on the land for their children, for their life they want to live, not just like an escape, but more of a like kind of a just this cool legacy project to be involved in. And that's how we see it. Once you step outside of all the fear that's around about scarcity and all these different challenges, I think the beauty part and these other parts are what actually makes life worth living, and inspire us to be more, and our children to be more, and to see more possibilities. So like we definitely see more in the R&Ding in 2025 and coming up with these things. And we've already developed some ideas and worked on some concepts, but like really starting to put that together into homes.
Yeah.
We started partnerships in 2024, locally and internationally, to work on these same types of systems. So we have like a multi-pronged approach to it, and where we're seeing how to develop this on multiple different ways to suit multiple different needs, cost, efficiencies, all kinds of things. And so yeah, we're super excited about it, and just I think bringing in the families.
Well, if you're interested in staying tuned, you can join our mailing list at havenearthtradeschool.net, and that'll get you on our mailing list. And then we're going to have upcoming events in spring. And if you're interested in learning more about the residential membership or visiting, that's havenvillage.net. But yeah, we're going to try to be a little bit more communicative through this virtual reality here. And we'll look forward to future questions and ways of reaching out and connecting with everyone. But thanks for tuning in. And we look forward to this. Do you think you could grow Palo Santo? Probably not. I don't think so. Right now, we're looking to grow a lot of food. And that's kind of our main focus. One of the trees that we're looking to do is willow, because it's also an animal fodder and can be used for other things. But yeah, we're trying to be really practical with our approach to what we're doing. First and foremost is getting people on the land and food security and resiliency measures, so that we have all of that in place. And I would say that is the impetus and motivation behind everything that we're doing. I mean, everything kind of comes back to that for us. So
right. And I think just being here on the land for more than a year now, the land is its own medicine. Nature is its own medicine. And once we disconnect, I think, from the matrix, less and less we need to have outside influence into that. And I think it's innate in us. We are our own medicine. And when we like kind of reconnect with ourselves, and nature and places like this really allow for that, they foster that, they and I think 2025 is going to be a lot more of that, of really stepping into our own power through that healing that nature brings. Once we kind of can take ourselves out of some of the things that are really pulling us away from them really simple things in life that actually turn out to be quite supernatural.
So happy New Year, everyone. We look forward to reconnecting with everybody in 2025. See you soon.
Yay.